Welcome back, panelists here. NBC News, Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Vitale, Democratic pollster Cornell Belcher. Governor Pat McCrory is back with us, and Ashley Parker, the White House bureau chief for the Washington Post. During the break, Senator Booker was actually reading our minds because he talked about all the advertising that features guns, and that's exactly what we put together as a match. Ali and Cornell, just how important guns are to Republican primary politics. Look at this mashup. These are ads that are airing around the country right now.
And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to return this country back to its former glory.
In 2022, I'm going to blow away the Democrats' socialist agenda.
You don't know who's got what in their purse. Lipstick, an iPhone, or maybe a little Smith & Wesson 38.
Ali, Kevin Cramer, I think, sort of said it best, right? Which is, this is all about the primary voter, isn't it?
Yeah, it's always all about the primary voter, though. I feel like this is one of the key litmus tests when you look at Republican primaries of how pro-gun are you. You cannot be too pro-gun in a Republican primary. So I think that's the permission structure if you're in an election year. But not everyone here in Washington is. And I think that it really does speak to the climate here on the Hill, especially where I spend my time, that none of these 50 Republican senators wanted to come on and talk to you at a time when, in theory, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has blessed this effort towards something bipartisan. And I think the thing that I looked at was McConnell's words. This is a guy who says what he means and very carefully means what he says. And what his blessing was directly related to the problem. So an outcome directly related to what happened here in Texas this time. So you look at the way that this group is bipartisanly breaking up the issues. Yeah, you're looking at school safety, you're looking at background checks, you're looking at red flag laws. But like, if the mood on the Hill is so unoptimistic, there can be all the blessings that you want for these conversations. It just matters what actually happens.
I think when you look at that, those advertisements that are happening out there, it is you can't decouple sort of what's going on with guns from what we see the nationalist movement in this country. And Chuck, it is frightening to think that we are mixing easy gun access with the rise of nationalism and this toxic sort of hate, grievance politics, replacement politics, and we're lighting and we're mixing sort of easy access to assault weapons with this in this toxic mix. And my God, this cannot be the way forward for this country. And it's not a right or left problem, but you look at that nationalistic movement that you're seeing there, and we got grievance politics, and we have replacement theory, and let's all grab assault weapons. This cannot be the way forward for this country.
And one thing that's fascinating is the conventional wisdom, which used to be true, used to be that this is about the power of the NRA. That was potentially true after Sandy Hook when they were trying to do Manchin to me. I talked to a number of people who said if the NRA hadn't come out against it, they might have been able to get something done. Now the NRA is incredibly weakened through errors of their own making, but it is now about, as Ali said, primaries in the Republican Party, and being an absolutist on the Second Amendment has become codified in that party. It is incredibly galvanizing. That's why you're seeing it in these ads. And I was talking to Senator Chris Murphy, who, of course, guns are a personal passion project after Sandy Hook, after Buffalo, not even after this latest shooting. And his theory of the case, and it's interesting, it'll be interesting to see what happens, is that Democrats need to try to make this as galvanizing for their side as Republicans have for theirs, and that will be the only way that things change. But it's unclear to me and to a number of Democrats if Democrats can make gun control as powerful as featuring guns in political ads.
I think
Pat,
that's fair.
Pat, put it in political terms here. Look, my theory on why Mitch McConnell blessed this small effort is he's worried about suburban voters in Philadelphia, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Atlanta, and perhaps Charlotte.
Yeah.
Meaning that you got to look like you want to try to solve the problem. Your primary opponent, Ted Budd, is a gun store owner. Is this a negative for him in his general election or a positive for him?
That's going to be interesting because in the primary elections, you've got to remember the demographics have changed in the last 25 years. Democrats used to have control of the rural voters in the old days, especially in the South. Now that is almost all Republican voters. And in the rural areas, guns are a part of the culture. And I'm talking about law-abiding, good people who guns are a part of the culture. And so there's no way with the congressional gerrymandering, and even in a U.S. Senate race, you know your votes are in the rural areas. Are you going to say anything about guns? Because Their law-abiding citizens primarily who like guns, and it's a part of their hunting, it's a part of their protection. But now the urban centers, especially in Georgia and North Carolina, and you've got 2 Senate races now in the general election, one I wish I was in, but I'm not. That's life. You've got a different demographics, and it's going to be how the soccer mom responds to this. Now, in one way, the soccer mom is going, I don't like this crime in our cities, and I'm bad at the DAs and the defund police, but they also don't like the major shootings, and so there's a conflict there.
Can I get back in here really quickly because I want to pick up on both, but the point that Pat made. If this is not the year of the angry mom, I don't know what's going to be the year of the angry mom, right?
So
and the truth of the matter is,
whether it's cost of living, school safety,
but it's or how about you taking away my right to choose what's happening with my body
and my body,
right? And if you look at and take the right to choose I think there's an opportunity for Democrats. If Democrats make this election about anything except sort of what's happening in our schools and what's happening, sort of these mass shootings, and a woman's right to take care of her body. If they make it about health care, but Democrats have historically run from this because they've been afraid of this issue. But it is now, I think, a galvanizing issue, both choice. Really quickly, there's a nonpartisan group called the Highlands Project, and they just did a poll of African American women. And those African American women who are less likely to vote, once they heard about Roe v. Wade being overturned, 60% of them are now more motivated to vote.
But I also think if you're going to put this in through a gender lens, I often look at the message and the messenger. And what a lot of female lawmakers pointed to after this mass shooting, but we've made the point that a lot of these mass shooters are young men, there is a gender lens here that studies show that all of these young men have a common link of hating women. So there is a gender lens through this too. Abortion, gun rights, all of these things. These are Democratic guardrails. It's whether or not they can galvanize them. You're right.
All right. I'm going to pause the discussion here. And by the way, as we go to break, as we do every Memorial Day weekend here at Meet the Press, we want to remember the American service members who died in the line of duty since last Memorial Day. This list includes 13 killed in the terror bombing during the withdrawal from Afghanistan.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.